Welcome to the Listening Body, the reset for therapists. When your nervous system settles, the client results change. Just read that twice. When your nervous system settles, the client's results change. So before technique comes state, and your nervous system sets the tone. Before client read physiology first. So before a client consciously understands anything, their nervous system is already reading yours. So it reads your breath, your pace, your posture, and your pressure. So if your breath is shallow, your pace rushed, or your body just subtly braced, and your pressure can just be a little bit too firm. And so the body responds. And it's not because you're doing anything wrong, it's because physiology is just always communicating. Co-regulation is constant. So whether we think about it or not, co-regulation is happening in every single session. The nervous system is always reading the room, and that includes reading us. So we mirror each other physiologically. Breath rate, muscle tone, pace, even micro expressions. We attune, often unconsciously, to what's in front of us. And if we're not careful, we carry that, what isn't ours, our clients, we carry that. So if I'm slightly rushed or slightly braced, slightly mentally elsewhere, and sometimes we can be, the client reads that before I even make a move. And if I'm steady, grounded, and clear, the client system has permission to organize differently. So, before technique, before precision, before adding anything, we have to consider the state we're bringing into each and every room. Stress changes sessions. When we're stressed, even mildly, our perception narrows. We become more task-focused and less sensory aware. We look for problems to fix rather than patterns to read. I'll read that again. We become more task-focused and less sensory aware. We look for problems to fix rather than patterns to read. And stress also alters our breath. It becomes slightly higher, slightly shallower, which subtly increases tone in the body. And that translates into our hands. Pressure becomes a fraction firmer, pace becomes slightly quicker, and pauses become shorter. So even if our technique is correct, the system we're working on is responding on activation, not safety. If we don't reset between sessions, we can maintain activation all day, and every client receives a slightly braced version of us. When results feel off, we often add complexity when it's actually clarity that's needed. When sessions don't feel quite right, when results aren't landing the way that they usually do, our instinct is often to add something. Another technique, another variation, another modality. But often what's missing isn't more complexity, it's perceptual clarity. If my nervous system is slightly activated, slightly narrowed, I may misread what I'm feeling. I may interpret protection as tightness. I may interpret collapse as something that needs released. So before adding more, restore clarity. Refine precision. Let your work function as it was designed to. Complexity can compensate for activation. Clarity restores results. Before you add another modality, restore perceptual clarity, refine precision, and let your work function as it was designed. It's very easy, especially as experienced therapists, to reach for another tool, and we normally do have other tools in that toolbox. We tend to reach for another tool when results plateau. But often, it isn't that the method isn't working, it's that our perception has slightly dulled because of stress. So before adding anything new, just restore your perceptual clarity. Refine precision, not by doing more, but by seeing more clearly. Most well-designed methods don't fail, and Bowen is a very well-designed method. They simply require a clear practitioner to function as intended. So if you release your stress and if you're centered, then you'll pick up those little perceptual impulses much easier and you'll do better work. So notice your baseline. Like, where do we start each day? Before we regulate, we need to know where we're starting from. So I want you to stand upright, your arms relaxed and your eyes closed. So I want you to actually do this. So stand up, relax your arms, close your eyes, and I want you to notice where your hands are resting naturally. Are they slightly forward, slightly internally rotated? And now I want you to notice your breath. Is it high? Is it shallow? Is there subtle holding? And now I want you to notice your jaw. Are you clenching your jaw? Is it nice and relaxed? How does your jaw feel? And now your feet and your weight distribution. So is your weight forward? Is it on your heels? Is it medial, lateral? Where's the weight distribution? This is your baseline. This is the physiology you bring into your next session. You can't change what you haven't noticed. So I'm going to do a little demonstration. I've got a recording of a little demonstration. So I want you to watch the first one, the first repetition, and then I want you to join me. Some of you may know this from the advanced Bowtech, but I've it's kind of changed a little bit. Here's the video. First, you need to inhale, shoulders up to the ears, and then shoulders back, retract them, exhale, push down, back, push down. As if it's a heavy weight, you're pushing down to the ground. Breathing in, shoulders up, rotate, heavy weight, push down, rounding into the ground as you push to the ground. Rotate, push, rotate, close the book, push down. Okay, that's our little demonstration. So you've now done 6 repetitions, doesn't take long. I want you to just stand again, close your eyes, and I want you to just notice your baseline now. So just be quiet for a few seconds, close your eyes, and just feel where you are. Where are your hands? Have they moved slightly back, slightly more neutral? And notice your chest. Is there more space? Is it wider? Is it less collapsed? And notice your breath. Is it lower? Is it slower? Is it less effortful? This is a shift in state, not through force, but through organization. So if your physiology just changed in just a minute, imagine what this does before you begin a session. Now let's translate this into practice, clinical application. How many of your clients present with forward rounded shoulders, thoracic flexion, upper back tension, shoulder tightness? We often treat these areas locally, so upper trapezius, rhomboids, thoracic spine. But what if part of what we're seeing is a maintained anterior bias? A system organized slightly forward. So this simple intervention gently reorganizes scapular position, it encourages thoracic extension, and it broadens the breath. It's not aggressive, it's not corrective in a forceful way, it's organizational. And when organization improves. Tension often reduces without direct force. So between clients, something very subtle happens. If we don't consciously close one session, we often carry fragments into the next. Thoughts, tone, emotional residue, even your posture. So we mark the end. So after your client, wash your hands slowly. Feel your feet on the floor, ground yourself, and take one deliberate breath. This interrupts carryover. Without a reset, activation accumulates. And by the end of the day, you're not just treating, you're holding multiple nervous systems. 3 minutes between clients protects your clarity and protects your energy. So 3 minute reset. This is your between sessions reset. It takes less than 3 minutes. In fact, the 6 breaths you just did were only just over a minute, so it takes less. So first we're going to anchor. So stand upright, feel your feet on the floor, and notice your breath. Then you're going to do 3 repetitions of the postural reset we just practiced. So inhale, lift, open your chest. As you exhale, you're going to push and roll down and ground. Ground, feel the weight through your heels and let your eyes soften. And finally, soften the jaw. The jaw often holds what we don't realize we're carrying. This resets your state before the next client enters. It protects your clarity and it protects your perception. 3 minutes prevents 3 hours of accumulated activation. At the end of the day, something important needs to happen. You release responsibility. Your role is to facilitate, not to fix. To invite organization, not to force outcome. When we become attached to results, our clients' results, we subtly contract. We try harder. We lean forward physiologically. That forward lean accumulates. So at the end of the day, you consciously return to neutral. So let's define neutral. So you're going to wash your hands slowly, release what isn't yours, and think of that's what you're doing as it washes down the sink. You're releasing what isn't yours. You're going to soften your jaw, feel your feet, and let the day close. Your client's systems continue organizing long after they leave. You don't need to carry them home. So regulate first. Everything we've spoken about comes to this. So regulate first, because everybody that walks into your room is organising around something. So bracing is where tone is excessive, it's defensive, it's held. Collapse is where support is missing and the system has it's in a hanging forward rotation, the hanging forward. And then we've got protection, when gripping is compensating because there's a lack of stability. So if you don't regulate first, you may misread these patterns. And when you regulate first, your perception broadens. You can sense which of these states people are holding right now. And that is where your sessions really change. So reflection. Before we finish, just take a moment and pause. What did you notice in your own body today? Where was your baseline? And what shifted after the reset? And more importantly, how might this change the way you begin your next session? Not by doing more, but just by arriving differently. So over the next week, experiment. Notice your state. Just take a second to stop and notice your own state before you begin to treat. Change your state, relax, reset in between your clients, and close the day intentionally. Those small adjustments in your physiology can change the quality of every session. So implementation, let's make this simple, because this is a simple thing to do. This isn't something you add once, it's something you structure into your day. So before the client, notice your baseline, run the postural reset, and arrive to your client's session grounded. Between clients, you're going to mark the end of the last one. You're going to wash your hands slowly. You're going to do 3 repetitions, feel your feet, and soften the jaw. So after each and every client. After an emotionally heavy client, this is important. You need to really slow down here. So if someone's really emotionally and really stressed out, you need to make your pauses slightly longer. And just notice if you're leaning forward internally, and notice if you're holding your breath. Because remember, we've got that mirror and we want to be the good mirror. So we need to anchor, reset, and release what isn't ours. And compassion does not require absorption. You taking on your client's emotional state does no one any good. Compassion does not require absorption. Simple. This is a simple exercise, applied consistently, that's where change happens. It changes how your work lands. So it's not something you add once, it's something you structure into each and every day. It won't take you long. It will take you a minute and a half before you start, a couple of minutes in between clients, and at the end of the day. It's not going to add time to your work, not really. It's something you just need to do. So walk through it before the first client, notice your baseline, run the postural reset, arrive grounded. Between clients, mark the end, wash your hands slowly, 3 repetitions, feel your feet, soften your jaw. And after the emotionally heavy clients, you're going to pause a little longer. So it's not difficult. We just have to consistently apply it. This is clinical hygiene. This is giving your clients the best opportunity to get a good session from you, where you're present, where your perception is switched on, and they feel it. They will feel when you're present, when you're giving your best, and when you're nice and grounded. So just a little case example. Sometimes what looks like tension is actually protection. So if you release it too quickly, the system feels more vulnerable. They don't feel safer, they feel more vulnerable. So there are bodies that brace, there are bodies that collapse, and there are bodies that protect. And protection often shows up as a gripping center. The system doesn't trust the back body to hold. So everything's forward. The back's not doing its job. And our final one, this is my fascia inspired art. These are for therapists' rooms. And here it says, your body finally feels like someone is listening. And that's intended for your client to see this, telling them that you as the therapist is finally someone who's listening to them. So that's the end of our little training. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for being here.